Someone shared this picture. This shows a list of forbidden activities posted on the wall of the Zhichun Pavilion restaurant in the Summer Palace in Beijing in winter of 1982. It includes the following: playing the finger-guessing or drinker's wager games, playing music, and dancing. Someone replied, the cigarettes that Mao Zedong smoked were all produced at a special base. Someone replied, on the one hand, the CCP promotes equality between officials and the people, but on the other hand, the top officials enjoy special treatment. A hierarchical system and a privileged class has been established. The CCP claimed to build a country where the people are the real owners, but the reality stands in stark contrast. What's more ridiculous is that there are still people who believe in the CCP's lies. In fact, the biggest evil characteristic of the CCP is not its rampant corruption, but the attempt to destroy human nature. This has resulted in countless human tragedies. One telling example is during the Cultural Revolution era, a Red Guard sent his own mother to the guillotine himself. Someone shared that the rich can also feel the difficulty of surviving under the CCP regime. This video features Chinese businessman and entrepreneur Cao Dewang.
经常跟那些当公务员的人讲你能够让农民跑一趟解决问题，或者不跑能够解决问题，你把它解决了，你不要去为难人家说，哎，这个不行，明天再来，后天再来，叫他跑一趟，要花多少钱嘛？在我们来说的几百块钱是一张纸的事情，2张纸的事情，在他来说可能是1个月、2个月的收入，你知道吗？
In fact, even reasonable advocacy for protecting one's human rights is not allowed in Communist China. Someone shared this banner which reads, illegal petitions cannot be made, even if there is reason behind them. If one insists on petitioning, he or she will be punished legally. Someone shared another banner which reads, illegally entering Beijing to petition the government is equivalent to walking on the path to prison. Someone wondered, so what does a legal petition look like? The CCP leaders should give a clear explanation. The reality is that the people living at the bottom tier of society in Communist China have to face the CCP's officials who only dare to bully the vulnerable.
这段视频的事发地是杭州滨江一小区门口，视频中身穿城管制服的工作人员正一脚踹向一名老太太。 另一视频中，被踹的老太太倒地不起，边上是撒了一地的鸡蛋。
Ironically, even these urban management officers also had no way but to seek to petition the government to defend their own rights.
那想我给他说哈。
Someone shared that I used to be a member of the CCP's bureaucratic system. Even I have also personally experienced abuses of power during the law enforcement process in ordinary criminal cases, not to mention people from the vulnerable groups. I know that the agents from the state security and public security bureaus, and perhaps also the PLA or the Chinese military, are all carefully monitoring Twitter. Someone shared that some time ago I was detained for tweeting on Twitter. The State Security Bureau directly told me that they were also on Twitter. Someone shared that now the CCP has developed an online ID for the Chinese people. The full name is the Internet Function ID card. Someone shared that people do not need to bring an additional ID card. If they use this one can prove one's identity just by scanning it via Alipay. Someone shared that on Wednesday, December 2nd, the US State Department announced a new policy to reduce the valid period of Chinese Communist Party members and their families' tourist visas to the US from 10 years to 1 month, and only one entry within the validity period is allowed, effective immediately. According to media analysts, this policy may have a direct impact on 270 million Chinese people. There are currently about 92 million Communist Party members in China. Someone shared a quote from Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn, a Russian historian and philosopher who was an outspoken critic of the Soviet Union and communism, and who helped to raise global awareness of the Soviet Gulag forced labor camp system. He said, over a half century ago, while I was still a child, I recall hearing a number of old people offer the following explanation for the great disasters that had befallen Russia. Man had forgotten God. That's why all this has happened. But this netizen didn't mention the other half of the quote, which I think is also worth sharing. He continued, since then, I have spent well nigh 50 years working on the history of our revolution. In the process, I have read hundreds of books, collected hundreds of personal testimonies, and have already contributed 8 volumes of my own toward the effort of clearing away the rubble left by that upheaval. But if I were asked today to formulate as concisely as possible the main cause of the ruinous revolution that swallowed up some 60 million of our people, I could not put it more accurately than to repeat, man had forgotten God. That's why all this has happened. Someone shared this video clip showing a woman sharing the risks that she has been facing since she decided to speak out and testify about voter fraud.
But why is it that we're not having more people come forward? I mean, it seems like if there was all this widespread fraud that, we'd have dozens and dozens of people.
I'll tell you why. My life has been destroyed. My life has been completely destroyed because of this. I've lost family. I've lost friends. I've been threatened. My kids have been threatened. I've had to move. I've had to change my phone number. I've had to get rid of social media. Nobody wants to come forward. They're getting threatened. Their lives are getting ruined. I can't even get an actual job anymore. Democrats like to ruin your lives.
All right.
Someone shared a speech given by a Trump supporter from Arizona.
We've had patriots outside protesting every single day since the election. Because what we want is a fair and honest election. We don't want it for ourselves. We want it for future generations, our kids. Because our kids are not going to grow up living in a country like Venezuela. This is what they do over there. They rig the elections. America, the United States, the beautiful country we live in. We're free. We're the only land that's free. We are the last hope. And they're trying to take that away from us. I'm not going to let that happen, and I know you guys aren't going to let that happen.
Child, we will take you in. Child, we will bring you home. You'll be a flower that sees the spring. Soon a dove flying high.